the pleasure to have the last session of the day, which is always like bedtime. So yeah, title is Contributing to Qt, and I would like to broaden your idea of contributions a bit. So just to make that clear in the start, if you're only talking about or thinking about code contributions, you might as well go home, because that's tomorrow for Thiago. This is wrong. Let's take the other button. Yes, there we go. So a short information or introduction to myself. I work as a web community manager since 2008 for Qt, and I'm based in Oslo. My biggest project right now is the Qt Developer Network. It's just, sorry, my fault. It's broken. And I work with online communities and do a lot of social media, although I'm transitioning a bit to towards Origin Comms Manager, so he's taking care of a lot of that. Second, I'm based in Oslo. I have a teenager son who is now experiencing all funny things. And he's very much into gaming and, well, things that boys do. And I came via the arts to IT, so I am not, in any case, like educated in computer sciences. So all I learned about computers and software is I learned by myself. And that's what I did before. So that's me on stage for l'Élysée d'Amour, actually. So why? The question is, why on earth should anybody spend time on contributing to something that you don't own? Right? You might think like, yeah, well, what do I get out of it? Or what's in it for me if I'm supposed to spend time on this, maybe even my free time, I'm not paid for it. And, well, nothing for me to win, apart from, well, experience or someone saying, hey, cool, thank you. That's what we're going to look at today. So, what's in it for me? You get an improved product, as in, if you tell us what's broken, we might actually fix it. And better resources if you have a question. Someone may have had that question before, so more people asking questions means more answers available to those who are having questions in that area. That also increases the speed of learning. And if you put something in there, you might get something out. So if you support others, they will eventually support you if you have a problem. But there's, of course, more to it. Who here is working for a company with a full-time marketeer or a salesperson? It's not that many, is it? A lot of people work for small companies that don't have that, so someone in the company has to take care of marketing, sales, promotion, and you get a great exposure. So by asking questions on public forums, mailing lists, etc., and replying to questions and showing your expertise, you can actually raise your hand and say, hey, I actually do know what I'm talking about, and it's not only hot air. So if you put your company name or employer name on your email address or in your signature, it shows, of course, to the other people and helps putting exposure on your expertise if you want it for yourself or your employer. So, feedback. On what do we want to have your feedback? So obviously it's the pre-releases. That means that you can download them, you can test them, you can tell us what works and what doesn't and what should be changed. Well, if it's a pre-release, bug reports, of course, is most important. You can test new APIs and features and state your opinion. The roadmap we've just seen for the 4.8 scoping. Performance. So by you using Qt and trying it on in your applications on all the platforms we support, you can see how it performs and tell us, well, this works, but this actually doesn't. Or if we do it that way, it won't. Or it will. And the general developer experience. So is it usable? Is it well documented? Do you have problems with specific features? or APIs. And, well, obviously, bugs. Well, we, of course, never make mistakes, do we? Where can you give us feedback, and where do we listen to your feedback? Because it's important for us. So we are on the mailing list, obviously. We check our blogs for comments, but we also listen and interact with you on the Qt Developer Network, which is new, and I keep on repeating it. There's the URL. I will say it again. So we get to that later again. So with bugs is a big thing. I mean, it's the biggest problem, and it's fairly easy to give feedback via a bug tracker. So we encourage you to report bugs, comment on bugs that other people have reported, vote. There's a lot of people who actually don't know about this voting feature. So we have a voting feature in Jira, and you can vote on features and bugs, and by voting it up, chances are that it gets prioritized different. So if a lot of people have a problem with this same thing, it will of course put pressure on the team that is prioritizing and saying, well, if we have so many people having problems with this, and if it's so important, maybe we should fix it earlier. And of course, in Jira you can request new features, which of course ties into the voting again. So if you request something that everybody else wants too, the chances are higher that you get it. It won't. There we go. Yes. So bugs are reported all over the place. Blog comments, mailing lists, forum entries, comments on wiki pages and whatnot. That's really, really hard to keep track of. So if you report a bug or comment on it, please do it in Jira, because that's where the developers actually look. And then we have it all in one place, and chances are much, much higher that someone looks at it and it doesn't get lost somewhere in the middle. This is a very good page. So Christian put this together to explain how you report bugs and how we handle them and how everything works and how we would like to have it. So it makes our developers' lives the easiest as possible, because they have tons to do. So if you're waiting for your bug to be fixed, it may be that the person who is responsible for it just doesn't have the time. It's not that they're slacking. But you can also say, hey, that's really well done. Because usually what we hear is people complaining. Something is not working, or this is broken, it's a regression, we had it working before, now it's not working anymore, or it's on and off, and what are you guys actually doing? I kid you not, I read that several times, that some people say, well, do you actually test your stuff? How can you overlook something like this? What are you doing? And there's a lot of personal interaction in there. So if you see someone and say, hey, this was really good work, it's really appreciated. Yes, but you can also, of course, contribute patches and merges to the core. And this is actually something that Tiago will present tomorrow. We have requested that our sessions are following each other, so that I'm first and he's second, and that somehow got lost because I'm last, he's first tomorrow. So we're still kind of after one another, but just on the next day. So yeah, he's on tomorrow morning at 9 for the early birds. But something very important I would like to talk about and explain our thinking and the working that the work we put in there is community, because community is very important for us. And it's not only community as in free labor. So actually I'm very allergic to the way of some companies treating community as a pool of unlimited resources. Free, obviously. It's much, much more. It's a group of people who share the same interests and maybe overlap with other groups and have subgroups. So it's a very interesting concept, and it's very important to us. So I have some sub-points here. So the first one, which is very obvious to some, but not so obvious to others, is that you can support other Qt users and share your knowledge. That's always a nice thing to do. There it is again, the developer network. it's one of the destinations where you can do that. We also have the mailing lists, the IRC channels. There are other communities, so it is not tied to what we are doing. You can do it everywhere. So, but talking about the developer network, there we have forums, we have Wiki, we import our FIQs that the support people are filling into the database. So every night we run a script and import the latest database of FAQs. So as soon as a customer request or comes in to the database and is answered, it goes there during the night. And we have some nice sorting features, I would say, the tagging and rating. I will show that in a minute. Yes. There we have it. Maybe I have internet. Let's see. Just one thing. If you have questions, something is not clear, please let me know while I go along, and don't keep it for some time maybe. Just make sure that you get the microphone so that we can have it. Where is, there it is. Here we go. Of course. No, wrong. Here. So, this is the start side. Go away. I would like to show you our forum. It looks like a forum. Surprise. You can browse it. If you're logged in, you see your personal profile here. You can collect points. Points are great, because if you have many points, you get something. Among them, funny badges like this. We have a wiki. So as soon as you are registered and logged in, you're allowed to post something on the wiki. Why doesn't it work? It's because it doesn't work. There is no internet. Fine. Then we move on. This is the tags. So I chose one that is very popular, the cute creator tag. So tagging means that if you have an article or whatever kind of content, piece of content, you can label it and say, okay, this is something that is related to cute creator. So I put the label on it. And that makes it easy to search. So I have the search bar up here, which I cannot demo now because apparently my network connection doesn't work. And then it shows me everything that has the tag cute creator. And it's sorted by content type. So it's a forum, a wiki, is it an FAQ, or is it one of our blogs? By blogs, I'm talking about the blog on that site. The other blogs will follow. Please, can we have a microphone?
Yeah,
Yes.
just wanted to ask why the backtracking system is not integrated, which I think it would probably be the most
Yes.
important thing, because I mean this is kind of people talking
Yes.
with themselves, but there is no external input.
Yeah, so the question was why the bug tracker is not integrated with anything else. It's not just this side, it's not integrated with anything. So what we are currently doing is, because we have I heard that before today, we have quite some login sites. So you have to log in into Jira to report a bug. You need a login there to write something. It's all open, so you don't have to be logged in to read. And we had the login for the labs blogs. That we have killed. So currently we are cleaning up and trying to come up with one single solution. OpenID is one thing that we are having in mind, for example, to avoid exactly that. The problem with Jira is that it's currently an island. So everything kind of works connectedly, and then there's Jira. And we have spent quite some time on thinking about how to solve that problem, and it's not as trivial as it seems. So we are aware of the problem and we are working on it, but there is no immediate solution to it. Because Jira is a very complex and very close system. So it does bug tracking. But ideally, we would have an interaction with this, so we can tie together the accounts and make it as easy as possible to move from one side to the other and back. So it's on the roadmap. It's unfortunately not as easy as it could be. Did that help? Sort of. No, there is no so. I mean, it would be great if I had a solution. Yeah, it would be great if I had a solution that I could just pull out of my back pocket, but it's like unfortunately not there yet. Yes, and then we're having something new. I'm going to talk about the docs later, so I will show you something else there. Right, so I could show more if I had internet, but I don't. Maybe I can try again now. So my VPN was down. There we go. Now we have the wiki. And it fills up with content as we speak. And now there's the rating. You can see that if you're logged in, you can rate pages or pieces of content up, respectively down. Well, no, you can only rate up and withdraw your up. So the thing is that as soon as we have a tag and a rate on one piece of content, we can sort the content by interestingness, meaning that the highest rates gets up on the search results. So you don't have to weed through a lot of garbage to finally find what you're looking for. And that's some sort of crowdsourcing that we're doing here to make sure that we actually all benefit from this approach. Now, let's move on.
Hi, I've just a question concerning the wiki.
Yes.
Is it possible to somehow upload images in there? Because I'm not able to upload images to something like Flickr or something.
No,
in our company.
currently it is not possible to upload anything to this site. No images, no files, nothing. That is due to requirements we had that we were not able to allow people to upload, so externals upload stuff to our servers. Because the legal department had issues. So I see their point. You could be uploading whatever, right, and run your torrent from our servers. That would probably be tricky. So we have workarounds there. So you can link your images and they show. So you can just put in the source URL. But then, of course, you have to upload it somewhere. Exactly. I know it's a problem. And we are trying to fix all those things. It's just not, as I said, it's close to the Jira problem. It's not just I walk into an office and say, hey, we do this differently, and then it happens. That would be awesome. I want that job. So that's currently not possible. So you have to upload it to ImageShack, Flickr, something, whatever you want.
Yeah, since I'm working in that department, I'm embarrassedly didn't know about this, but I will ask anyhow. Is it an option to do what they have done for teachers, 200,000 teachers in Sweden, where you submit something, you actually write the waiver, so stating that you haven't done copyright violation, because that's basically where you get into trouble.
Yes, we have discussed this, and the problem with that option is that it just doesn't scale. So as long as we're currently we're 3 people working on this, as long as we are a team of 3, we will not be able to scan anything.
This is important. This is not your job to scan, but the person who submit, they actually are legally responsible, not taking picture from a national newspaper or from a competitive company and put it in as a blog picture. They have to take it themselves.
Yes. So
That's the waiver. That's the waiver
Yes.
argument, and it's actually work in Scandinavia if you're not using American law on everything. I just had to mention it. Sorry.
So it's a complex problem, and it's not only for photos. That seems to be fairly easy to solve, or images, screenshots, anything. It's a more complex problem, and the dumbest, I would say, result of is that we can't host images. That's currently how it is, and I have to pick my fights too. So we have to live with the workaround for now. Let's see, so we know. It just doesn't work. No, it's a screenshot. There we go. Oh, I know. Fantastic. So anyway, you see that the developer network is a big building ground, and there's a lot of things that don't work yet, and not as we want them to work, but hopefully they will work as we want them to work at some point, rather sooner than later. But we do believe that it's already usable. Now my machine hangs. It's great. Isn't it supposed to be a Mac? Macs don't hang. No, they don't.
Apparently they do.
Yeah, obviously they do. They only hang if it's embarrassing. So, if you're home alone, they never hang. Fantastic. Nah. Not yet. Yeah, I will have to reboot. Awesome. So I blame it on the VPN. It's always great. So yeah, he will not be able to fix my VPN. There we go. So, but speaking about community websites, there is a lot of community sites out there. It's not just us. So we do have contacts, or I work with Qt Center, for example, and there's a huge effort going on in Italia for now. And we have a big French site, Qt Développé, if you're a French speaker. And there's a lot of efforts going on in localization, as in translating content. And that's one of those things that we think is also very important, because nobody is, or not everybody is as fluent in English as you would think. So our material is mostly in English, mainly because we don't have unlimited resources to all sorts of languages. So we do translate into certain languages. We have a big effort in Asia, for example, but we cannot handle everything by ourselves. And I know about a project, for example, that is translating material into Russian, and also I think there's a big effort in translating material into, oh yeah, the documentation is partly translated into French. That's something that we think is important too. So if you are fluent in a language that is not English, you can take whatever kind of content you think is useful for others and translate it into your native language. So there my machine is back. So translating. And there's also people in IRC channels, localized IRC channels, that can answer questions in your native language, and you can help those who are not native in English or not comfortable enough, to give them time to improve their, not only their knowledge about Qt, but also improve their English knowledge, because most of the translation actually, or most of the documentation and everything we have is in English. If you have a starting point somewhere, it is much easier. Now I open my file again. There we go. It's great. You would think those things don't happen, but they do. Here we go. So, localization is one thing that I have now vastly covered, but it's also a point of spreading relevant content. So, if you find something that you think is useful to other users of Qt, you have a lot of options to spread or push this content to other places. As in, obviously, you can use the fancy stuff like Twitter or Facebook, but there's also the possibility to link to it from other sites or paste it into forums or something. So it doesn't have to be our content, it can be anything. And I'm always very interested in blog postings, for example, that other people write about how they use Qt and what they have learned and encountered there. Yes, and where our developers hang out, that's on the mailing lists and IRC, and then we have respective channels there. So it's the generic Qt and Qt Labs, and then we have the channels for certain labs projects and sub-communities, I would say. And there's actually a lot of users there, so it's not just us. Yes, next point, spread the word. So of course you can create your own content. That's always nice. It's a lot of work though. So there we go back to localization and translation. You can write articles and guides. And interestingly enough, you can submit your own content to tech magazines. A lot of those magazines are willing and actually happy to take reader contributions. It's not as hard as it would feel, so it's worth a shot. Especially if you cover something that not everybody is very at home in. If you don't have 5 hours in a day to spend on things like that, you could do the easy shots there. So write blog postings about what you're doing and what you have found out and what you encounter in your daily life, I would say. That doesn't always have to be a novel, something that is, yeah, vastly overestimated. So it can be something short and interesting. You can, of course, tweet, and you can tweet other people's stuff, and you can record videos or tell other people about videos you think is interesting. And, of course, that's one thing that I think is very important. You can comment on other people's content. So you can find things that are missing in a blog or an article or something and point out stuff. And we can see that, for example, on Reddit or Slashdot, we have those huge discussions where people exchange and correct mistakes, for example. And of course, in real life, you can give presentations, go to conferences, do networking, and you can also do trainings. And we have a department dealing with Qt in education. We had a track here, and they are also, among other things, developing training materials that you can reuse if you have the opportunity to give a presentation or a training at your local whatever. So this is something that is twofold. It's in one point catering to the ecosystem and spreading your knowledge to other people that might find it useful, hopefully. But it also gives you, as the person giving this presentation and or spreading the content, a certain exposure, as in you know what you're talking about. And this is something that is very important these days, especially in online media, that you show your expertise and create a certain position for yourself where you can show that you know things and that you're good at what you're doing, because a lot of people compare your online presence with your person. It's right now it's a bit of a niche, so it's moving, but I think it becomes more and more important, and it's actually a good place for you to show off. Yes, then we have the documentation. Not everybody knows that you can actually give your opinion or contribute to our documentation. It's, different ways we can do that. So you can translate it. I keep saying it. You can translate stuff. You can comment on it. So sometimes we do make mistakes. We try to avoid them, but they happen. And that means that you can also send in fixes for the documentation. And always interesting for our doc team are demo apps and examples. So if you have something that you used to whatever demo something, we're happy to see that and to look at it and maybe include it into our material. Same goes for the examples. But after all, it's about coding, right? So if you use Qt to write awesome applications, and I just assume that everybody here does that, show them off, because that's your work and you want to be recognized for what you're doing and what you're good at, and show them off and tell everybody how awesome your application is and how great it works. There is when the ambassador program actually comes in, that you can say, this is cool and I've done it, and by the way, it's cute. So it's not only cool, it's also cute, haha. Which leads us to the end. There will be food. Do we have any questions? We need the microphone.
Hello. Question. What's the relationship between Forum Nokia web pages and this Qt developer web page that you were showing? Because it seems that there are quite a lot of overlapping content.
Yes, there is some sort of overlap. But what I keep telling people is that we are not only covering mobile phones and not only covering Nokia mobile phones. We are vastly spread over various platforms. While Forum Nokia is obviously focusing on Qt on Nokia mobile phones. But you have Qt running on embedded devices like the coffee machine and of course desktop. And those are different audiences. So there is a certain overlap, and we try to avoid as much content duplication as humanly possible. But so it's a bit, if you imagine a face like this, so you have Forum Nokia on that side and us on that side. It's an overlap in the middle, but it's not all. So that's the main reason why we are spending time and effort on this. Otherwise we could just say like, go that way.
Since I'm working in the same department as community manager, I have to add only that we have 70 industries we're working on, and it's actually we who makes Qt. We are making the documentation, but Forum Nokia, as pointed already, has a more narrow sight on it. But it has been asked at this event to merge, you know, the Qt SDK being a Nokia SDK. What's the idea instead is to more use a plugin based approach, meaning that you can do both. You can do one and or the other. So the question is how that can be made here. Maybe we can take wikis from other pages, link it in, give references, and work that way instead of thinking that everything has to come from one place. And the community is like that. The community is diverse and it has different duplications, and that's the beauty of the whole thing, that people through that innovate and produce more. Instead of limiting ourselves, we actually create more together with the community. So that's, I will say, which would be the biggest benefit, is that more departments in Nokia which haven't really been open yet, and that was been addressed at the community sprint this weekend, for instance, OV services. Where are the documentation? What are they doing? Are they sharing content and such? So I think the debate should be much more in that direction if you really see to those who uses Nokia services.
Just sort of continuation on this. Are you around on these other forums and sort of to point people to the sort of Qt developer forum?
Yes, so we of course try to not step on anybody's toes, right? I'm not going to Qt Center and say, hey, we have a very much cooler site here and you should really go that way. That would be first stupid, and second, not very helpful.
No, that wasn't really what I meant.
No, I know, I understand. So, of course, we try to be, also I have all sorts of funny tools to monitor all sorts of sites. And of course, I try to point people into the right direction, be it from our side to the other one, or the other way around. On the other hand, my day only has 24 hours, right? So it's limited what I can do in this time. So that's actually where I count on more people, because I cannot do it all by myself. So if you find something on a website that might be interesting for us to know, it would be great if you just tell me, because then I can take care of that, and we can multiply the efforts that we have and the time. That's why my email address comes in. So it's not that hard. It's always firstname.lastname@nokia.com. Chances are that your email lands in my inbox then. And don't be shy. I mean, I get tons of emails, obviously, but if you have a question, or if you have a suggestion, or even think that you found something interesting that we should know about, or that you wrote that we should know about because we may want to use it or point people to it, then I'm really thankful. So Knut wanted to say something.
Just what the heart of the community is theocracy. They who does something decides. So we could be the kind of chief captain on this website, but Alexandra says, no, we are not. We're opening up for contribution. Those who want to contribute actually do that on equal terms. Instead of we being the master and commander, you are master of your project, your pet application, what you're working on. This is the way we are thinking. And through that, we might have the ability to grow. Instead of growing on the cost of someone, we can actually grow on the benefit for every user of this tool or this website, hopefully. And if you're not, we expect you to complain.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is not that I am owning the site, right? I'm not. It's you who own the site. I'm just trying to make it as comfortable as possible for you to do. So of course I have to be very present and I have to look into things, but I'm not the one who decides. So if you tell me, no, well, this feature is really stupid and we need it that way, then we will change it, right? And that's the same for the content. So if something is on another side that is much better than what we have, then we're happy to change things and to either point to that page or site or ask for permission so we can copy the content. So that's something I did last week, I think, that I asked someone to copy his blog into our wiki because it was very relevant content. And we cannot expect everybody to search everywhere to find something. So by doing that, we actually help you to find relevant content that makes your life easier in the end, because that's the goal for the whole team. So it's not just me, it's also Knut and everybody else. Anything else? First one sleeping already? Please.
I've got a question about the translation process. Is there some kind of review?
Yes, ideally there would be some kind of review process. My Russian, for example, is really bad though. So that's another thing where the crowdsourcing or community work comes in. So if you translate a piece of documentation, or if someone did and you read it and you think like, this can't be right, you have the chance to change it and to fix it. While we don't have the resources, obviously, to translate into all sorts of languages.
And how is it maintained? Because if there's an error in the English documentation, if it's corrected, the correction has to be propagated to the translation. Or how is it done?
Yes, that's a very good question. So I don't know how actually this community-driven translation project works. They are keeping up to date with everything. So I suspect that they have some sort of clever thing, a script or so, going through Gitorius and checking for doc fixes. I don't know, I'm speculating. But it has to be maintained, of course, it's a point. It's not like you do it once and then it's done. Since it's continuously evolving, you have to change things. And if you're curious, I would ask Jonathan Courtois. He's here from Qt Developer, and they are doing a lot of translations. And they must have a process there that takes care of that, but I don't know.
The thing is that it's microphone. Sorry. The thing, I have been translating to Norwegian several projects for many years, for 7-8 years. And it's different tools for different translation and different product, software application might have one way of having stored the translations, and the web page have a different way. So asking the question is kind of, yeah, we're doing the same thing, we translate, but the tools applied might be very different. And the best would be, I don't know the status here, I'm sorry for not knowing that, but the best would have to have some differentiation log, meaning that when the diff are in the original language, you can get notified, and then you can go in and go to that reference, and you can go in there and do the translation somehow. But to be honest with you, some of this is not that easy, this referencing that it should have been. When it comes to KDE, for instance, it's much easier. You get the file, you get the translation that is not done is marked by red, and you just go there and you find it, bang, and then you can go straight to translating. So here is, I will say that the web people is lagging a little behind, not our people in per se, but the tooling around it is not up to speed, but just I had hoped it could be.
Well, if we're talking about translation, if you want to translate our whole documentation, that is a project, I would say. I don't want to do that. So, but there's, for example, white papers that we have that get people started, and those don't change on a monthly basis, unlike the documentation. So it's a bit like picking and choosing what is actually manageable. And if you want to go the way of translating the documentation, for example, you have to have a big team, and then you need processes and resources, and there I'm blank, I have to say. Another question?
How active is the community in the forum in itself? I mean, how many sort of regular contributors do you have, and so on? Yeah,
I would have to pull the numbers for that, I have to say. So we have now something above 3,000 registered members already, and most of them do contribute somewhere, somehow. But I cannot tell you how, from the top of my head, how many people are working there on a regular basis and spend a lot of time there. It varies very much. So we have some people who post like once a month, and then we have people posting various posts daily. So, and it's still ramping up.
Sort of feels active and alive.
Yes, it totally is. And we are taking a look at it too. So it's not like we just dump it there and let it linger. Yeah, I feel it's active. Okay, well then, thank you. 6:30. Drinks. 8. Food.